Oh, it won't let you click on it. You probably have to copy it into your browser. Copy and paste it into your browser. Because I typed it in, maybe I should have hit enter before. Hey, welcome YouTube. We are on YouTube. I've had a lot of issues getting on YouTube in the live stream, but we made it and I am happy. So we have Facebook on and we have YouTube on, and I am ecstatic. It looks as if my laptop is going super duper slow because if you're on YouTube and if I sound horrible on YouTube, please forgive me. You can jump over to Facebook and get on the live there at Women's Financial Empowerment Group. Within the group, there's an event page. Just go ahead and join that event page and you'll be able to see me live there. So hopefully don't lose anyone. Yeah, it's just growing pains, trying to learn how to use all of the technology and then dealing with my internet slowing down because there are too many people using it. So it's just, yeah. But we're going to get through this because nothing is going to stop us, right? Right? Nothing is going to stop us. So I have Facebook going, I have YouTube going. So let's get right into this. Welcome everybody to our Thursday night live book chat. Yay! I'm so excited. We've been reading this book. So if you're new here, we've been reading this book, Women and Money, by Susie Orman. And it's the revised and updated version. Okay. So if you haven't started reading yet, I would suggest you get this book either on Audible or some other device, or get the physical copy. It was necessary to have a physical copy that I could, make notes in, I could highlight or what have you, because that's how I like to delve in to things like this. This is not the sort of book that you just skim through and you move on. It's really an action-oriented book. So that being said, getting a physical copy is really going to be. So if you're watching me from YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, share, comment, like, do all those things to help out my channel. I'm just getting started and there's a few kinks, but I'm financial information. See every woman in my life become empowered to take full control of her finances. Not any half-stepping, but I want to make sure that you are fully able to take over your finances. You know the ins and outs. I am constantly learning. I don't know everything. I don't think anyone knows everything, but it's important to continually plug yourself in by reading, listening, what have you, also meeting with your financial coach if you need to, and get your financial life in order. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and delve into the book. Again, if you're new here, we're going through this book, Susie Orman's Women and Money. And it's the revised edition. She did this book a second time. So it's the revised and updated edition. Okay. So we are going to be talking tonight about chapters 3 and 4. So let's go ahead and get started with chapter 3. Hopefully you all read it. I know not everybody had a chance to read it, but if you didn't, hey, just go and read it. And at the end of this, when this video is over, I will post the link to my video about how to read more, some tips on how to read more. If you are a very busy person and you struggle with getting through. So I will definitely link that below after the recording, just because my internet is a little bit spotty on YouTube right now. All right, so chapter 3, the title. What do you think about the title? You Are Not On Sale. I mean, that title says so much. So much. That title is huge just by itself. So we just forget about the whole thing. Let's close the books and let's just go to bed. No, just joking. But think about it. You are not on sale. That title, what Susie says here is that women have a tendency to devalue themselves. We let others set our price. I mean, there is so much truth in that. I feel like it's just, wow. You know, we do that in so many areas. So she shares scenarios where we do this. So one example is at our job, you know, by not asking for a raise that's proportionate to the work that we do. Women are notorious for that. Another example, that take the blame when the funds run out. Also, wives handling all the bill payments, but the husband makes all long-term planning decisions. And that creates a vicious cycle when we devalue ourselves. And that is so true. And I'll share in a different video, but I definitely devalued myself, or I've done it many times, not just in relationships, but in other areas too. And definitely when it came to money matters. And that's something that I had to get out of my system so that I could be more successful with handling my money. Okay, so she says that women respect the right to be fully women respect the right to be fully valued. So make sure you are being make sure that the value that's placed on you is what you place on yourself, and it's not what someone else has placed on you. So I just want to stop there for just a second and just ask you if any of you have read this book so far. Do you have any takeaways or any thoughts on just the beginning part of chapter 3? Because I felt like it was such a huge chapter just going in, just starting out, that, you know, I was just soaking it up. And I can go on because I have pages, I have so many notes, but I don't want it to be all about me. So if you have anything to share, you know what? I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. Definitely type it into the chat so everyone else could see it. And yeah, because I want to hear from you. What did you think about those thoughts? What did you think about that title of that chapter? I mean, I thought that by itself was huge. Okay. She says that she says that we should make sure that we are being compensated fairly for our time. And that's a challenge that's especially true for business owners. You know, as female business owners, a lot of times we take less money and it shouldn't be that way. We should know how much our time is worth and allow ourselves to be compensated as such. And not just business owners, you know, if you have a job at home, if you're working from home as a stay-at-home mom or whatever, you should know your worth and make sure that you're being compensated accordingly. And the entire book, you know, that she definitely addresses some things that stay-at-home moms need to know, because I feel like, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like when it comes to money, a lot of stay-at-home moms get the raw end of the deal because they feel like they have to beg for what they need. And the fact of the matter is that you're doing a huge job. You're always on call, cooking, cleaning, whatever, all the things. So you definitely should be compensated for your time. And that looks differently in different households, but it's definitely something that you want to take into consideration. Welcome, whoever is joining me from YouTube. I'm so glad that you're here. Please feel free to subscribe, share, like, comment in the chat. And let me just stop for a second and show you the book that we're doing is Women Getting Paid to review her book, but there are so many helpful nuggets in this book to empower us as women to take control of our finances. So I'm going to move on. So Susie mentions something called the volunteer syndrome. And I don't know where she got that term from, but she mentioned that women volunteer out of obligation, even if the timing is wrong. We donate our time and effort without considering the time, the true worth of our time. And we see that a lot where, you know, if there's a volunteer opportunity, who raises their hand first? It's usually women. So don't get me wrong, but women just feel like they have to volunteer. So she really addressed that in here. Okay, Lane says, I hate talking about money, but yeah, he always gives me more than I ask for if he can afford it. I feel extremely blessed in that. I hate talking about it with him. Yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, there are some men that really take good care of their women. And of course, not everybody on is in a relationship or what have you, or not married or whatever. But so, you know, everybody's situation is different. But I do know that there are situations where there are men that take really good care of their ladies, you know, buy them great stuff and whatever. But I'm here to tell you, ladies, that that's not enough. You know, it's not enough just to take what you're given or what have you. You really need to understand how money works and, you know, just educate yourself, because in doing that, you're also going to help out your partner, whether you're married, have a roommate, whatever the situation is. You need to understand money. So even if someone's just giving you money, it's not enough, is it? Right? And you're right when you say you hate talking about it. That's why I'm here. A lot of women hate talking about money. It's not pretty. It's not sexy. It's easier to talk about clothing and hair and children and a show on TV, and the list goes on and on and on. But when it comes to money, we don't want to talk about that. You know, you don't go up to your girlfriend and say, hey, how is your credit score? What's your credit score like? You know, you don't go up to them and say, hey, what are you guys working on? What financial goals have you set for yourself this month? Right? That's usually not a conversation you have with your girlfriends or guy friends or whoever. So it's something that we really shy away from, and hope going through this book and other books that we are going to be reading will help us get out of that and change our mindset and have a positive relationship towards money. Agree? So yeah, go ahead and like this video so that others can see it and what have you. All right, so and I thought that was very interesting. Very good. Thank you, Marciela. That is a good note. Marciela says, I think we don't have to be afraid to have money. That is so true. Because we need money for everything. Everybody needs money. You know, even little kids want money. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to have those positive conversations, but it takes time and it takes education about money to get to that stage if you didn't start off that way. Some people start off that way as children, and so they just build on that. But if you weren't raised like that, or if you have those negative money memories like we talked about during our last chat, then it will really affect how you talk about money. Right, Lane? So yeah, thank you for that comment. Awesome. All right, now this part, she says, we need to raise our expectations. All right. She says, if you devalue yourself, you are not a victim of your circumstance. You created the circumstance. Ouch. Ouch. That is really painful to hear. So if your boss is not paying you what you're worth, you're not a victim. You're not a victim. And the reason why, and she goes into more details, I'm not going to rehash the whole book, but she goes into details about this, that you are the one who has to confront your boss about your capabilities and the value that you bring to the company. And if you know that your company is prospering, progressing, however you want to put it, because of your expertise or your input, then you should be compensated what you're worth. And if we're not compensated what we're worth, it's because we're not doing our due diligence to make sure that we are, going to your boss and, just stating the facts and saying, what you're worth and what have you. And she goes into a lot of details about this. But one of the things that I've seen, I worked in corporate America, is, they'll say, oh, this is your raise. And it's like a peanut. And you could be happy with that peanut. Be like, woo, I'm getting a whole 25 cents. Woo. Ooh, I'm getting a whole $1,000 a year more. You could be so excited about that. Or you could really think about it and say, well, hey, but the company is right here and I'm doing this much work and bringing in revenue to the company. I believe I deserve this amount, and really work towards getting that amount, because you need to take control of that situation. You can choose to be powerful or powerless. That's what she says. It is a choice. I remember there was a time in my life where I thought I didn't have a choice. I thought that I was powerless. I mean, a part of me thought that, not my whole entire being. But there was this air of like powerlessness, but it was a choice. And I didn't realize at that time that I was making that choice. So we all need to be cognizant of that fact that, yeah, we choose whether we're going to be powerful or powerless. But we know that it's a process. You don't just get up one day and just be like, oh, I'm all powerful, just because a book says so. It's a process. And I believe that when you implement a lot of the things that we're learning in this book and other books and, begin to work at it, then we will be more powerful and we will be able to take charge. So we have to learn to negotiate our salary. If you look up page 49, she details the steps that you can take in that process. And I like that she does that it's not just her saying, hey, why don't you go do this, right? Get off your butt and go negotiate something, go make something happen. But she gives us some detailed information on how we can make that happen, how we can negotiate our salary. So I think that is like amazing that she does that. So you want to definitely go ahead and check that out. If you're in that position where you have a job and you're due for a raise, that you should be making more than you are making, and your company is in the position to give you a raise, because I understand not every company is, then you definitely want to take a look at page 49 again if you have, or take a look at it for the first time if you haven't, and apply those principles. Okay, so real quick, page 53. So if you have the book, turn to page 53, and it says the crux of this part on page 53, bottom of 53, I just summed it up, and it says set your value, communicate it, and do not back down. Okay? Now just think about how much respect you would get from your partner or your spouse or your boss if you went in and knew already how much you were worth, how much your time is worth, the work that you put in is worth, and you're able to communicate that and stick to that. At first, you may get a pushback, and he or she may be like, well, I don't think we can afford this or whatever. But then if you are consistent and persistent, you should be able to get what you want, because you have just shown that person that you know what you're talking about, right? Are you with me? All right. So everybody with me? Give me a thumbs up, give me a something, a high five, something. Let me know that you're alive. Okay. And those of you who read the book, feel free to chime in. If you even didn't read the book, still chime in. Okay? All right. So that's pretty much the crux of chapter 3. Like I said, we're not going to rehash the whole entire chapter. I really want people to read, because that's where you're going to get your education. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the hearts. You can watch a million YouTube videos. You can listen to me talk all day. But if you're not willing to take control of the information and apply the information, then you won't be empowered. You won't get the results that you need to get. So that's just something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and jump over to chapter 4. So this was another heavy chapter. Now, at first glance, okay, so let me just tell those of you who don't have the book what this chapter is called. The 8 Qualities of a Wealthy Woman. Now, at first glance, you may be thinking to yourself, what does this chapter have to do with money? Did you think that way when you read chapter 4? Or if you haven't read it, then it's okay. You can read it later. But at first glance, I wondered, what does it really have to do with money? That was when I first read this book. But of course, I read it more than once. So then I knew what it was all about. So anyway, I'm going to list the 8 qualities that she identifies. So 8 qualities of a wealthy woman, harmony, balance, courage, generosity, happiness, wisdom, cleanliness, and beauty. Okay, again, harmony, balance, courage, generosity, happiness, wisdom, cleanliness, and beauty. Okay, so which one was your favorite one? Which one is your favorite one after hearing me talk about it? My favorite one is courage. So first she talks about harmony and balance, right? So she defines, in this book, it defines harmony as an agreement in feeling, approach, and sympathy. It is the pleasing interaction between what you think, feel, say, and do. So there's harmony. Everything is in line, right? Balance is a state of emotional and rational stability in which you are calm and able to make sound decisions and judgments. Okay? So she says that those two really go together. Okay, so your favorite one was wisdom. Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to share anything about what you read about wisdom? Hate to put you on the spot, but okay. While you're typing, let me see. Okay, so harmony and balance were the first ones that she talked about. And then she talked about courage. So courage is the ability to face danger, difficulty, uncertainty, or pain without being overcome by fear or being deflected from a chosen course of action. Okay, and that's why I like courage, because I feel like I've worked on my courage for years. It's not something that I was born with. Definitely, I have an inner strength about me, but according to her definition of courage, I feel like maybe I wasn't that courageous because I had a lot of fear. And when there's fear, it's hard for you to be courageous, right? So she said that women lose their courage when they subscribe to a belief that someone or something else is the key to their happiness. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Right? Right? You lose your courage when you put your happiness on someone else. You base your happiness on someone else. And for me personally, I think why a lot of women struggle with this is because we're more on the emotional side. So we care more about what other people think of us. And so our happiness tends to get intertwined with what people think about us, what people say about us, what have you, because we're just more emotionally inclined. Um, so it's good to care about people and sometimes care about their opinion, but it's important for going back to knowing your worth. It's good to value yourself, know what you're worth, and be courageous, be able to face that danger and difficulty and uncertainty or pain without being overcome by fear or being deflected from a chosen course of action. So when when hurtful situations arise, confusing situations arise, we're not going to just go in our shell and be like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about it, or I'm not going to what have you. Be courageous. So that's something is being more courageous. Everybody has some sort of fear, even if it's a tiny one. But the only way to overcome our fear is if we meet it, if we challenge it, right? If we face our fear. But if we are so busy running away from our fear, avoiding the thing that we fear, we will never overcome it. So that's something that we need to all keep in mind. And mind you, I'm not perfect. There are some fears that I'm still working to overcome because I understand that they're not helping me in any way. And I feel like, if you fear getting burned, so you don't want to put your hand over the stove, over the fire on the stove, well, that fear helps you, right? But other fears will not. There's a lot of fears out there that just stunt your growth. Lane says, I guess it's not one thing. I just want to be wise. Okay, awesome. All the other things too. Wisdom seems the most important to me, but yes, I could definitely be more courageous too. Yeah, I think we all can be more courageous. And as women, we need to be, because at the end of the day, we are relied on so much. And I'm not trying to I'm not pushing any agenda or anything like that, but think about it. Think about it. When people are sick, who do they usually come to? Like even guys that are not married will go to their girlfriends if they're not feeling well. At least that has been my observation. I have boys, they come to me when they're not feeling well, right? If they lose their job, yeah, they'll talk to their boys, whatever. But, I feel like as women, we are the backbone of society. And if the backbone of society is weak, then, what does that say about society? So we have to strengthen ourselves, not so we can take over and rule the world, but so that we can help in a more productive way. We can be more productive, more helpful. If we are empowered with our finances, it not only helps us, but it also helps our partners if we have one, our community, and so on. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Lane. Yeah, we all want to be more wise. I'm not going to go too long. Let me. She talks about generosity. I want to talk about that a little bit. She said we tend to be overly generous, but it should be a mutual benefit. Now, I never really heard anyone say this before about generosity, because I had the belief that being generous means you just give, 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 give. And I don't think she's saying that when you're generous, it means that you have to get something in return, but rather it's a mutual benefit, and not like I'm generous with my time, so then I get hurt. You see what I'm saying? So for instance, you're super duper tired, you had a long day at work, and then you get home and your girlfriend wants you to bake cookies all night for an event. Now, you can be super generous with your time and stay up all night and bake those cookies, but at what cost? You end up being sick because you're exhausted or what have you. So you definitely want to weigh the cost of your generosity. Um, and that's something that we need to hear, that it's okay to be generous, but you got to think about it. You got to think about the cost of being generous. And it's not that you're going to just give all your time. Even when you don't have time, you're trying to make time. We have 24 hours, but you're like, you know what, we all have 24 hours, but I'm going to try to somehow give 30 hours. I'm gonna try somehow to make 30 hours so I can please these people. It just doesn't work like that. you know and what do we end up doing? Burning ourselves out. So again, what does this have to do with money? Empowering us when it comes to money. Any thoughts, anyone? Yeah, so basically what it has to do with money is changing your mindset, being able to take control of your time, knowing your worth, choosing to give rather than giving for some other reason. If you have the book, turn to page 60, or you probably just remember it. And she lists some questions here. So sometimes we give for the wrong reasons. Do you give because you feel that you should? Do you give to feel included? Do you give out of guilt or embarrassment? Do you give because you're worried about what others will think if you don't? I mean, those are really great questions that we need to think about. So I'll just share a quick example. I remember I attended an event, and there was this woman there that, oh my gosh, she was such a sacrificial lamb. I tell you, she was giving up her time, running around when everybody was sitting still enjoying. She was running here, running there, just doing the absolute most. And we were all appreciative of her, but at the end of the day, she had a breakdown because she was doing absolutely too much. She was doing absolutely too much, and she did not know how to say no. She did not know how to say, you know what, can I get some help here, or anything like that. She didn't know how to do it. She just kept giving of her time until she had like a breakdown. I mean, I was sad for her, but I told her, I said, you know what? I can see that you're tired, you know? And actually, I didn't even say it to her. Sorry. I don't want to lie to you. I didn't say it to her. I said it to someone else. I said, you know what? I feel like she is tired, but she doesn't know how to ask for help. So that's just something to think about, that, in our generosity, why are we doing what we're doing? And we should be able to own that and decide, hey, I'm doing it because I feel like this person deserves it, or I feel like this is a good use of my time, or what have you. And she lists out different different aspects of generosity, why to be generous. You have the book, you can go ahead and read it. That's page 60 to 61. So yeah, all about generosity. All right, now we're going to swing over to happiness. Happiness is a state of well-being and contentment. I'm not going to say anything more about that. We all know about happiness, right? Now, this one is yours, Lane. Yes, that's so true. Thank you, Harumi. Harumi says we have to learn to say no. That is a big one, right? Because honestly, I don't know why we're like that. We a lot of times do not know how to say no. We are tired. We don't have the money or whatever. Like there's some barrier, and we don't feel like we're in the right position to do something, but we still feel like we can't say no. So that's something that we have to learn, is that we have the power to say no. You're not going to say no every time. Obviously, if it's a situation that you want to do something, then then of course, go ahead and do it. But if you feel within you like it's not the right timing, or you don't feel well, or you don't have the right resources or manpower or what have you, you need to feel confident in just saying, maybe not this time, or how about we reschedule for another time, or, however your no needs to be formulated. But I think no is a very valuable word, and it's not a bad word. It's not a bad word, ladies. No is not a bad word. We got to get in that habit of saying no when it's appropriate, and not feeling like we have to say yes all the time. Because I feel like you lose some of your power when you're always saying no. I mean, sorry, when you're always saying yes. Because then no one knows when you're capable or when you're not capable, or when you're tired or what have you. They'll just keep expecting you to say yes because you always say yes. And so definitely we have to learn how to say no. And just drawing on my experience as a parent, I feel like at some point I was a yeser. And I have one particular child, she would just bat her eyes a certain way, and just draw me in, right? And I think she knew how to work me. She knew how to get me to say yes. And, I realized it took me a while because I just have such a soft heart, especially for her. And I was like, I was like, you know what? I need to start saying no, because I don't want to be that yes parent. That's yes about everything. I'm going to just say no. Yeah, you only use it with your children. Well, that's good. That at least that's a start, right? But I'm telling you, I was like a yes parent at one point in my life, and I realized that I need to stop that. And sometimes we say yes a lot out of guilt, out of just feeling obligated, feeling wanted or needed. So many reasons, because again, as women, we tend to be guided by our emotions, and so you know we don't want to say no. We're like, okay, yes. Even if inside we're like, no. Outwardly, we're like, okay, I'll do it. And I tell you, once you start to say no, you'd be surprised the power that you have, because then people start respecting you more. They'll respect your time and efforts. And hey, let me throw in this one. No is very appropriate when it comes to how you spend your money, knowing when to say no to things. But that's a whole other topic for another video. So I'm not going to mess with that. But it just came to my mind. So, yeah. So, the next section is about wisdom. Wisdom is the knowledge and experience needed to make sensible decisions and judgments, or the good sense shown by the decisions and judgments made from an accumulated knowledge of life that has been gained through experience. Okay, so I like when people say knowledge is power, knowledge is power. But I think what you should be striving towards is wisdom, because with wisdom, you get the knowledge and then you apply it. Because without application, it really isn't powerful at all, right? It really doesn't mean anything if you just say, oh, yeah, I know about that. Yeah, I know about mutual funds. Oh, yeah, I know about retirement plans. Oh, I know about all that stuff. But do you have one? Do you know what's in it? And all that stuff. Again, for another video. But the point is, we got to have wisdom, right? And that comes through knowledge and through our experiences. So that is definitely a good thing to shoot for, Lane. And thank you for the hearts. That is definitely a good thing to shoot for. And I also am striving for wisdom. And I'm always looking to be more wise in every aspect of my life. You can't go wrong with wisdom. All right, the next one, the next quality 7. So we're almost done with this chapter, and we're almost done with this live chat. Cleanliness. Did you read this chapter? Oh my gosh, this chapter stung. The first time I went through this book, it was on Audible, and this this one hit me hard. Like I felt a little bit of pain, like someone pinched me. Like cleanliness. So it's a state of purity, clarity, and precision. And the reason why it stung me so hard, okay, so she talks about how, if your car looks like a garbage can, it's so filled with clutter and junk. And oh my gosh, like I felt like she was like looking at me when she read this book. Like she was looking into my life. She was spying on me. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my gosh. She called me out. She called me out, but thankfully she doesn't know she called me out. But yeah, and that led me to make some more changes. Lane says, until I got almost organized, the bills were never paid. Yes. Oh my God. So you see, she mentioned all of that here, organizing your paperwork, getting yourself straight. Like that is a part of it, of being wealthy. You're not going to find a wealthy person with their important documents thrown in a corner somewhere and they have to search for it for tax time or what have you. I mean, these are things that honestly I didn't think of before. But reading this and going through this book more than one time, it allowed me to see how, if I just make these little small changes, it can really help me in my financial game plan. Because, you know, you're not just, okay, how I think of it is a holistic view. Everything affects everything. Okay, how you feel in your mind affects you, how you feel in your body affects you, how you look at life. So if you're just messy, I'm still working on my whole organization game, okay? But I've gotten so much better. I was messy. So like you said, you know, if you if I had stuff all over the place, I would miss deadlines of things that I needed to pay. I would receive checks that weren't cashed. Oh my gosh, like so many. So, yeah, you can relate, right? Oh my gosh. It's embarrassing, but I'm just being transparent here. Like being messy and disorganized cost me a lot of headache because I didn't know where anything was. My mind was all disorganized. Everything's disorganized, right? But the moment I started to make steps towards becoming more organized, I found that things started to come together more, and mindset shift. And, everything is coming together. I'm starting to feel that harmony because I'm embracing cleanliness. And, this is awesome. Lane says, I never got a check I didn't cash. You know what? As silly as it sounds, some of us don't open our mail or weren't opening our mail. So we did miss some checks. That's all I'm going to say. It's crazy, I know. But yeah, some of us were that bad. So yeah, it's important. She says it's important, to be cleanly in whatever we're doing. She's okay. And okay, so here's an action step that she mentions. So I'm gonna go ahead. I didn't highlight it before, but you know what? I think it's important. So she says, start with your pocketbook and wallet. Oh boy, I've seen some ladies' pocketbook. Oh my gosh, they got everything in there. It's like a whole supermarket, thrift shop, everything in that bag, right? Oh my gosh. All right. So start with your pocketbook and wallet and make sure all bills face the same way up and that every morning you put them in order. I mean, imagine that, caring about how your your money is situated. Lane says, I learned better than that. My dad never opened his mail. Oh, so you know the pain that can be caused by not opening your mail for sure. It's a crazy thing I've done. Really bad. Thank God I'm over that. And a lot of it was fear. And a lot of it was just that habit of procrastinating. Oh, I'll get to it later. I'll open it later. Yeah. I had to break free of that. It took a long time. But yeah. So she says next. So after you Fix your money in your wallet, whatever, in order, face up, in the same direction. Next, donate clothing you have not used or worn in the past 12 months to a charity of your choice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's an area I need to work on. And again, you may be thinking to yourself as you're hearing this, especially if you haven't read the whole book, you may be thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with money? But let me tell you, it's a mind shift. If you start to do these things, if you change your mind, you will change your habits, and you change your habits, you will see better results with your money. And we'll get more into that later. Now she says, simply throw out all the beauty products that go unused. I did that this week. I'm so proud of myself. All right. Remember, when you keep things around you that are worthless to you, they end up making you worthless. Whoa. Did you hear that? When you keep things around you that are worthless, they end up making you worthless. That's what she says. But it definitely doesn't add value to your life when you have things that are worthless around you. Are your important documents organized? So we just talked about that a little while ago. Are they organized? They should be. So right now, if they're not, well, you're in trouble, right? When your accounts are clean and orderly, you can find the information you need to make good decisions. So see, that's how it ties in with your money situation, right? And we just talked about that a few minutes ago, right, Lane? That, when your bills and when your paperwork, when they're not organized, then you're not in a good place to manage your funds, when everything is like all over the place. So you got to get that stuff in order. So she says, and this is the last part of what I'm going to read because I'm not here to read the book to you. She said, you might be reading this and thinking that cleanliness is nice, but not essential to your financial well-being. I'm here to tell you that if this quality is not up front and center, and if you do not adhere to it, there's no way you will ever own the power to control your destiny. So I'm not even going to go in further with reading, but think about it. If you can't even control the little things like the clutter, getting your clutter situations sorted out, how can you control the big things? And a wealthy woman has her things in order, right? So that's something to think about. So I'm done with the cleanliness thing. And the last quality she mentions is beauty, and defines it this way: is the quality or aggregate of qualities in a person that gives pleasure to the senses or pleasurably exalts the mind or spirit. Okay? Beauty means a lot of things. So it's not just about the clothes you wear or the way you style your hair, but it's about everything put together. Your mannerism, how you treat people, all this stuff, right? So beauty is what you create when you incorporate the other 7 qualities into your life. Isn't that something? So when you put them all together, what you're getting is beauty. Isn't that beautiful? No pun intended. Yeah, pun intended. So I like the way Susie just lays out all of this. I'm tired of hearing myself speak. What are your takeaways? What are some things that you really liked about any of these chapters or anything else? Oh, Fly Lady. It's Lane says, Fly Lady, look her up for help with clutter and organization. Her system is amazing and her website is free. Yes, Lane. Honestly, before I go to bed every night, my sink is shining. If you don't know about Fly Lady, you don't know what we're talking about. And a shiny sink sounds ridiculous, but look it up. Yeah, it gives me some peace of mind. It makes me feel peaceful. And it makes me feel like I've accomplished some stuff when I do that. Anything else that anyone wants to share about any of these principles any of these qualities that we talked about? in chapter 4, or if you want to share anything more about valuing yourself that we went over in chapter 3. So Lane says, love the shiny sink. Oh yeah, definitely. But my sink ain't shining. I don't know. And I even tell my daughter, if you're gonna wash my dishes at night, can you shine that sink when you're done? Make sure everything is out. So, and the benefit of that is you get up and you wake up to a clean, shiny sink. It makes you feel like something important. Okay, Lane says, love this book so far. Yeah, it's a great book, isn't it? That's why I said I went through this book more than one time, and that's why I decided to share it, because I felt like there was so much value in it. Because of this book, I love Susie Orman, honestly, because I had always admired her, but I didn't know too much about her. I bought one of her systems some years ago, What Have You Money Systems. But Lane says, yep. But reading through her book and hearing her story, her humble beginnings, and her journey just gave me a greater respect for her. She's not just some rich woman sitting on a hill somewhere, but she has gone through some real experiences, which she has gained the wisdom and she has shared with other people. And that's what I try to do. I'm not at Susie Orman status yet, but but whatever I learn, I like to share it with other people. And that's part of being a financial coach, is sharing and getting other people to where they need to be in their financial game plan. So yeah, it's important. So speaking of sharing, if you enjoyed this book chat, after we're done, feel free to share this with your friends on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, what have you. I'm gonna, like I said before, I'm gonna put the link to the to the video about how to read more books. If you find it challenging to be able to read more, and you have a very busy schedule, there's a way. So I posted a video about that, and I'd love to share it with everyone. If you haven't been on my channel yet and seen it, again, this is Women's Financial Empowerment Group, and it's the same name on Facebook and on YouTube. We're also on Twitter. So wherever we are, and I say we because you are all a part of me, right? So wherever you see that name, feel free to follow, interact. However, YouTube, please subscribe, share, thumbs up, comment, all that good jazzy stuff that I like. I'm new here, and so I need a little bit of love, right? Thank you so much to my Facebook gang. Love you so much. To the moon and back. And honestly, you're why I'm here, and I'm really grateful for you. And I just wish you the best in your financial journey. And God willing, we'll be back here next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be discussing the next couple of chapters of the book. Actually, next week, we're going to do 3 chapters. Okay. We're going to do chapters 5, 6, and 7 for next week. So yeah, read the book, because I don't want to be here talking all night, but I want to hear your take on the whole thing so everyone can be edified. So with that being said, thank you so much again for being here and interacting with me, spending time with me. It's so cool to hang out with you guys. Have a good night. Like and share. Bye-bye. Bye, Rumi. Bye, Lane. Bye, Marciela, and everyone else watching. Take care. Bye. Oops, I thought I